Hannukah Sameach. On Hannukah, we celebrate two miracles. One is the great victory of the Maccabim over the Yevanim. They were outnumbered and they managed to, in a miraculous, amazing, clever war, guerrilla fighting, to overcome the Greeks. The second miracle is the finding of a jug of oil in the Mikdash, in which they could light in purity the menorah, and it even lasted for 8 days, more than one jug could normally last. What is surprising is that we put most of our focus of celebration on Hannukah on the miracle of the oil, and we almost ignore the miracle of the victory in war over the Greeks. We celebrate for 8 days, the time that the oil lasted. We celebrate by lighting candles, which is what they did with the oil. And when the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat explains what we celebrate on Hannukah, it explains the miracle of the oil and ignores the miracle of the victory in war. Why do we focus only on the miracle of the oil? This is especially puzzling because when all of Am Yisrael is impure, you are allowed to light the menorah with impure oil. Furthermore, the menorah had not been lit for a long period of time in the time of the Maccabim because of the Greeks. Another 8 days of the menorah not being lit wasn't such a big change. What was so special about those 8 days that the oil lasted? To understand this, we must focus in to understand the miracle of the oil. The miracle of the oil has 2 stages. The first stage is finding one pure jug of oil between all the impure jugs that the Greeks made impure because they didn't believe there is such a thing as pure oil. For the Greeks, who put the science and the beauty and the external showing of things in the center, they didn't believe there is any internal meaning to things. What was important is how you present yourself. They did not understand why there is a difference between pure oil and impure oil. Every scientist with the most sophisticated microscope would not be able to differentiate between pure oil and impure oil. And for the Greeks, that meant there is no difference. And the Maccabim, they searched for one pure jug because they believed there is a difference between pure oil and impure oil. It's an internal difference because our values are internal values. We believe that we have an internal spiritual neshama, an internal desire for morality, for God. Our eternal values that go with our nation throughout generations are internal, are spiritual. And that is a difference that is between pure oil and impure oil. We are a pure nation. We are pure from the inside. The second part of the miracle is that jug of oil lasted for 8 days. What happened there? Finally, in the scientific world, we see a difference between pure oil and impure oil. Impure oil lasts only for 1 day. But the pure oil, when needed, lasts for 8 days. The miracle that the pure oil lasted 8 days was God's confirmation that spiritual purity is real and eternal, even if invisible to the eye. This is also the miracle of the war. Scientifically, the greater number beats the outnumbered. Scientifically, the strong beat the weak. But in the war, the pure beat the impure. The righteous beat the Reshaim. This is what we say in Al-Anisim. There were Rabim against Me'atim, Chazakim mul Chalashim. But in the end of the day, Tzadikim beat the Reshaim, and Tehorim beat the Tme'im. The miracle of the oil teaches us that the military victory was also a miracle. The pure defeated the impure because the hidden divine providence overpowered the laws of nature. We see this also in Al Hanisim. In Al Hanisim, we thank God for the defeat of the Greeks by the Maccabim. We realize it was a miracle. Al Hanisim ve'al haniflaot, the fact that the outnumbered Maccabim managed to beat the Greeks. We understand it was not just guerrilla fighting. It wasn't just war tactics. It was the pure beating the impure, the righteous beating the Greeks. But at the end of Al Hanisim, the Al Hanisim also describes the lighting of the candles in the menorah in Beit HaMikdash. And there it says that the Hashmonaim lit the candles, vehedliku nerot bechatzot kodshecha. The war is described as a war that God fights, that God miraculously helps the Maccabim win, even though externally it looks like great war tactics. It looks like a nes nistar that could be explained in very natural ways. And the lighting of the candles, which was a real miracle for one jug of oil to last 8 days, is described as a natural thing that the Maccabim do. I think this comes to tell us that in all our actions there are two sides. There is our efforts that we make. There are our planning, our actions. But there is also the nes nistar, the miraculous hashgacha that God overlooks his nation and his people and helps them. If we try and look at the picture from only one side and only see our hard work, we miss the whole picture. If we try and draw a picture that has only miraculous hashgacha of God, we are missing the full picture. And the miracle of Hannukah can look for 1 second as a big miracle in which the Maccabees were almost unimportant. That is a mistake. We can look at Hannukah as an amazing victory in war of the Maccabim and forget the miracle. We must see the full picture. This is true also in our actions, on the day-to-day actions. We also make an effort and also pray. Am Yisrael is fighting these days many enemies, in which soldiers must be the best soldiers and fight with war tactics, but also remember that the hashgacha, the nes nistar, when every simple person goes to work in business, in his profession, he must remember that he is also making his effort, but also praying for hashgacha, especially when one is acting in the name of our eternal values. He must remember he is called to make the best actions he can, but also pray and look up for hashgacha. On Hannukah, when we light our candles, we will make the physical action of lighting the candle, but then we will take our hand back and let the flame light by itself. That is how we act in the world. We make our ishtadlut, we do our action, but we know that its eternal aspect will carry on because of the eternal godly values in the world. And we search for those values. We can't see a world without them. The Greeks can't see them. The Greeks say what you see is what you get. And we believe there is much more than what you see. There is what you feel. There is what your values. There is the godly that appears in our godly soul. When we live through our life with this strong belief that we have values, internal, eternal values, in which we act for, and what you can see is only part of the picture, and definitely not the most important part of the picture, we carry on the message of the Maccabees. We carry on the message of Nes Pach HaShemen, the jug of oil that was found. And that's why on Hannukah we celebrate those eternal, internal values that we want to remember. And we understand that even the defeat of the war was a miracle of a jug of oil. Hannukah Sameach.